Hello, Theoretical Chemistry. Today we are talking about lab equipment, and we're going to use this worksheet that you see on your screen as our guide as we go through this. And if you'd like to take notes on the worksheet, you can download it and you can take digital notes. You can see I've put a little text box in here. The way you do that is by clicking this markup button, and you can drop in a text box by clicking the, there it is, this little T here, and then you can drop in a text box that way. So if you want to take notes that way, that might be good, however you want to tackle that. But let's get started here. Number one is the Bunsen burner. Bunsen burners hook into our gas jets. The methane flows through the gas jet into this hose and then into the Bunsen burner. And you've got a number of adjustments to adjust the amount of oxygen that gets in and mixes with that gas, and then burns very hot, blue flame, so good at heating things rapidly, Bunsen burner. Number two, this is our ring stand. This is an apparatus that we can put a number of attachments on, and so I've got number three, which is our utility clamp. A number of different attachments or a utility clamp can hold a number of different things, and so whatever you need held very consistently and securely, like a temperature probe or you name it. And so that is our utility clamp. We've got an iron ring also attached to this. That's number four. It's an iron ring, and so this is a platform that you can set various things on. For example, we've got our wire gauze there. If we wanted to have a secure platform, maybe we wanted to heat something underneath it, that would be good to use. Number five is our evaporating dish. This is something that you might, we would put it on our ring stand, on our iron ring, and maybe we would heat this up and evaporate off a liquid to get the solid that was dissolved inside of it. Okay, evaporating dish, just good for heating up a liquid and evaporating off anything that you don't need. Number six is a mortar and pestle. All I have is the mortar. The pestle is the little club that you use to grind it. That would be if you needed to grind something that was brittle enough to be ground. Number seven are test tubes. Test tubes are nice for mixing small quantities of stuff, for visualizing a reaction. That is a test tube. You're probably familiar with that. Number eight is a beaker. Here's a beaker. Okay, come in various sizes. Here's a small one here. Beaker. Good for mixing large quantities, crude measurements. The measurements on here are crude enough that if you wanted a precise amount of something, you would not use a beaker, but very good multi-purpose container for various things. Number nine is our wire gauze. Here it is. I put it on my iron ring in order to make a nice secure platform. That's what that's good for. Number 10, goggles. We wear goggles in the lab. Anytime there are projectiles, we're heating something up using glassware or using any solutions, chemicals, and because your eyes are very hard to repair, and so goggles on at all times in the lab to protect your eyes. Splash proof is what we use so that nothing could get into the sides. Number 11, we've got a cork stopper. We can cover 11 and 19 right now. Cork stopper, and 19 is a rubber stopper. Okay. If you wanted to let gas escape, then you would have a little hole to let the gas get out of your whatever container. These are good for stopping up a container like a flask or a test tube if you wanted to capture whatever was in there, especially, say, a gas. Number 12. 12 is a watch glass. Multi-purpose, good platform that you can move around, transfer if you wanted to, mask something and then do something to it, heat it up, do something, and then mask it again. Well, this is would be a good option for you. This is a watch glass. 13 is an Erlenmeyer flask. Very common use tool, good for swirling solutions. Not a beaker. This is an Erlenmeyer flask. Okay, that's one of the common things that we see mixed up and misnamed. All right, we're looking at 14. 14's fancy. It's a burette. A burette is good for letting out very controlled amounts of a given substance. Fun fact, the burette, the measurement on there, you can see the bottom is a 50, okay? And it actually goes, the numbers get smaller as you go up the burette. And that's because really what you're measuring with a burette is how much you've let out, okay? And so what you do is you twist this knob and your solution comes out, and you can subtract from where it started, from where it ends up, to figure out the amount that you let out. And very good at controlling the amount let out. If you turn the knob slightly, it comes out slowly. We use that towards the end of the year during our titration lab. 15, you're familiar with 15, is a thermometer. Good for, let's see if my thermometer cooperates here. There we go. Good for measuring the temperature of something. You're familiar with a thermometer. 16. 16 is a graduated cylinder. Good for measuring quantities, and so you can just put your substance in there that you're measuring. When you read a graduated cylinder, you read from the bottom of the meniscus. And so there's a little curved surface to your liquid, and you read from the bottom of that. And then you pour your substance into wherever you're putting it, mixing it, or whatever. 17 is our wash bottle. Put distilled water in there, and you can rinse out, you name it. Good for the little neck here is good for getting up and into test tubes, so those hard to reach spots. That is 17. We're on 18, crucible tongs. There's really two types of tongs. These are crucible tongs. You don't see the ones also that we use are beaker tongs. Beaker tongs, the way you can tell the difference, beaker tongs have rubber right here, and crucible tongs have no rubber. A beaker tong is good for handling a beaker, picking it up. The rubber is good for that. Crucible tongs are good for heating substances. Neither of them do the other job very well at all. This does not hold a beaker well because it slips through the metal. The beaker tongs do not heat things well because the rubber will melt. Okay, and so very important to use the correct tongs for the correct job. Those are crucible tongs, good for heating things, handling things. 19 we've covered, rubber stoppers. 20, these are pipettes, transferring liquids. You can use a pipette. 21, we've got test tube tongs. Here are my test tube tongs. Okay, a lot of people have them like this. This is not how you would use them. Not very good like this. They kind of cross over on themselves, and when you squeeze it, it opens up, and you can put a test tube in there, and you can handle that test tube securely. Okay, those are test tube tongs. 22, forceps, aka tweezers. Forceps, tweezers, the technical name we use is forceps, and good for handling items where you don't want to touch them with your hands, don't want to contaminate with the oils on your hands, or you just don't want to encounter that particular chemical or substance. Number 23 is a file. If you wanted to get shavings of a metal or something like that, you could file it down and get shavings. And then finally, 24 is our test tube brush. Test tube brush, good for cleaning out our test tube. Okay, there you go. There's an overview of our lab equipment, and we'll be using this in our chemistry lab throughout the year.